Hello guys, we are here with Karlo. Hi Karlo. You won first place on our side event Edison at National Championship. Tell us, what did you play?
So I'm back to playing Vayu Turbo.
Okay.
I updated the main deck just a tiny bit and I updated the whole entire side deck. And as promised, I'm delivering the deck profile again. Just like as a short word of how consistent the deck is, I went 7-0 in matches in Nationals, and today's locals I went 4-0 with the same list, so I'm 11-0 for now.
Very nice, very nice. So let's get into the deck profile.
Okay, into deck, 3 of your main starter. I'll start with the monsters, of course.
Okay.
Basically free, so you can start playing as soon as possible. Then, if you want to have as competitive of a list, this would be 2 Armageddon Knights. However, when I was at the venue, I was looking at a friend's binder, trade binder, and I saw a card, and I told him, if you give me this card, I'm gonna play it. And so the other one was Morphing Jar.
This is the sauce.
Yeah, so in top 4, game 2, the frog player hit Morphing Jar, and I got +1, but he set up his whole grave and he just killed me later on. He was playing like a Frog Monarch Hero. It was a kind of like a spicy list with a high value cards like Miracle Fusion.
Yeah.
So he kicked my ass that game and he was like, oh, you're siding it out. And I was like, haha, not giving an answer to it. And then game 3, I have 1 card in hand. He has 6 and he hits Morphing Jar. And I go infinitely plus and I just beat him out the game. So yeah, the card was, it was funny. I knew it would be funny and it really was funny. There was a bunch of spectators, so it was amazing.
Yeah, sounds entertaining.
Definitely, yeah. For your other so-called starters, if you are to apply like more modern terminology, there's Super. My favorite card on the deck, since it sets up your hand, field and graveyard. It's a beater, it draws you a card and it starts spilling. The free Raikos, outs problem cards, you know what it does.
Mandatory.
Yeah, like the most iconic card in Edison format, probably.
Yeah.
I only played 1 hamster. I know some people play 2, but again, like, you have to start going to your mid and late game. This isn't nearly as good of a draw, except in the early game when it stops certain beaters and just gets to your Raikou faster. And then for your boss monsters, I'll call this a boss monster somewhat. Just like the Gale, it can extend when you go with Sirocco, or if you get a Synchron board, it lets you game easier. You know what it does, like it just beats over stuff. It's a good value card.
Probably best tuner in Edison.
Yeah, just a staple, like one-off. It's limited, otherwise you'd probably play like 2.
Definitely.
And then we have the Dark Brigade, the probably strongest card that was out in the game at the point.
These are the ones that stick to your hand, huh?
Yeah, well, this one did, like only at the National side event. Strongest cards that were out at that point in time, like Gores. I'm actually not a big fan of this card. If game 1 or 2 they'd see Gores, game 3 I just sided out. I didn't go into game 3 a lot. I went like 3 game 3s. But still, like when they're 100% certain, I couldn't have Gores. I just sided out, or I sided out when I sided in Oppression. Not the biggest fan of the card, but there are players who are extremely disrespectful with aggro strategies and they just try and rush you down as soon as possible, and Gores really helps with that.
Sounds about right.
It gets you free wins.
Yeah, definitely.
And then for your other graphic targets, so I am still on the 2 Mali.
Okay.
Like, I did lose a game both in the Nationals side event and today in locals because I drew 2. But again, like, first of all, I usually side them out games 2 and 3 to make opponents' DD Crows and other Grave Hate cards less live. And second of all, I really like to be completely ignorant game 1 and just speedrun killing my opponent, and this really helps with that. And it helps me race aggro decks games 2 and 3 if I choose to opt to side in that fashion. These cards, like, I tried playing like this, however, this just fixes your Blackwing matchup even more and just gives you more chances to start playing with Greffer.
And in simplified game states, the Sirocco can be very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Or even if you just draw him with the Gale guy, Like you make a free level 8 synchron. I mean free, like you commit your normal and a special, but if they have no back row and like a set monster, you can either make Stardust and hit the Raikou, or you can make Dark Hand Dragon and just send it to grave. So it outs, I wouldn't say it really outs problem cards that much, but it outs scary game states where they have like a big Blackwing and you just gain its attack and you're like, you better have 2 Collude or you just lose this battle.
Yeah.
They usually just lose the battle. These two, this one is underappreciated. It really helps you get value where you shouldn't, and this one is kind of self-explanatory.
That one's nice.
Yeah, that one was part of the pricing.
Very, very nice.
So for the spell cards, the back row removal, the good ones.
Staples.
Yep. I didn't want to play with the worst back row removal cards. I just want like cards that I don't have to think, oh, if I bounce it back to hand and they can do this and they can do that. Like, these are good. That's about it. I want to play simple quality cards over weird decks that don't help you in a way that standard cards help you. Like Raikou helps you remove floodgates. Playing the giant tornado or cards like that that shut off floodgates or back row for a single turn. Okay, that's cute and that can help you sometimes, but like, what if they just go Words, or if you don't have for game, like, are you just gonna keep the card in your hand indefinitely? Or would you rather have a proactive card that does something as soon as you draw it, even if it's not the perfect answer to the threat at the moment? That was my basically, that was the way I was thinking throughout the deck building process. The only card that kind of conflicts with that would be again the Malicious, but it's in the deck for a specific reason. Rota to accelerate your deck, as well as being able to get Gardener is really cute. These would be all the power one-offs, I guess, or at least consistency one-offs for now. Charge also gets us one side card now. It used to get us 2, but this is still good enough. The mill free is nice, and also adding Raikou and then setting Vayu or something gives you an insane mix-up. Allure, you just self-explanatory, like consistency, and there's cute things you can do with it with Burial from a Different Dimension in combination.
There's a reason that Y card is at 1 in Edison, so
yeah, definitely. It just makes the deck more consistent. Just don't shotgun it for no reason. Like if you have it, you don't have to activate it, you can wait. BrainCon, this one used to stick to my hand, not so much in Nationals though, but the other one off, this card, okay, sure, it usually doesn't help you get out of the early game, but it's almost like a win button in the mid and late game. And 2 books, the books are like the greatest -1 cards in the game at this point in time, but it also combos with your Raikous and Hamsters, which gives it an additional level of power not seen in some other decks.
How come you're maining the Burial while other lists are siding it probably? What is the...
Honestly, were the Return from a Different Dimension, or whatever the trap's called, were that not costing you half your life points at play as well? Because you need a certain level of greediness in your deck to be able to overpower your opponent in the mid to late game, especially when you're playing a deck that isn't usually just Anga Bunga beatdown, but actually wants to grind somewhat at least. Like, there's different tiers to how long decks want to grind. This would be like a mid-range deck, but like you need greedier cards that allow you to beat out control when games go longer than you want. So, but yeah, again, the trap is too slow, and paying half your life points is very counterproductive if you have to do it early game to survive a more aggressive deck like Blackwings.
Okay, sounds about right.
I never cited it out either. Like, you could argue about it, but I just wanted to have at least one, like, really, let's call it greedy card that synergizes with other cards. It doesn't necessarily do anything on its own. And for the trap lineup, I play these. Nothing too fancy. I'd side this out often against, like, aggro decks. I'd keep it in against control decks that play with a large hand. One really fun thing I would do is if I'm playing against decks that aren't necessarily very aggressive, and I didn't want to up my trap count, I'd still side these 2 out for 2D prisons, so my opponents couldn't count my traps when I'm milling. They had to play again around cards that I didn't even have in my deck at that point. Because like, you're not gonna not play around Mirror Force if you side game 1.
Okay, sounds very, very interesting. Would you make any changes in your main deck?
I think the main deck is perfect except for the funny haha morphing jar. But like other than that, I would not make any changes. Maybe if your metagame is very like zombie heavy, you could main DD Crow or something like that. But other than like specific pre that's here to target specific matchups, or maybe like playing more deep prisons, like one or two cards different for your specific meta, I'd say it's perfect.
Okay, sounds very nice.
I'll just speedrun the extra deck since I have literally nothing to say about it.
Okie dokie.
Mandatory as well. 4, 5, the 2 6s, a 7, and then the 8s.
Maybe one question.
Yep.
Why not the Gaia? Because many Blackwing lists tend to play Gaia for baiting the level 6s. What did you probably cut for the another 6 that comes around?
Honestly, the thing with this deck is making 6s requires you to have either Gardner plus Gale, which didn't happen to me yet. It's maybe easier if you're like playing Spirit Reaper, so you have at least 3 level 3s. I am, however, only playing that plus the Plague Spreader and a level 4, which does come up more often, but it comes up to twice per game, which I have 2 of them.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, like I could make the wrong one first and lose again for that, but I make these ones so rarely that honestly, like, if these 2 were like not even in the extra deck, I don't think that would change the outcome of any single game I've played. Especially since I main maliciouses, that's even fewer situations where I want to go into these 2. So that's like just either like if I top deck the Plague, or if I'm really desperate, then I'll go into one of these. But like this one it could be really good in this deck because you can pitch stuff that makes it live, and I probably came up like in the ODS, in like the big tourney before the side event last weekend. But you're usually playing with such a small hand that just going for this is your only option. And if they just bottomless, that means another play is happening, like either the Blackwings or something else.
Okay, sounds about right. Let's get into the side deck.
Yeah, the side deck is what I believe actually wins you most games in this format.
Okay.
I'll go with the monsters first. I sided on Lila, just for matchups where I believe this would give me a lot of value, and for matchups where I have to pick through back row slowly. And also, when I'm slowing down my deck, sometimes just a normal summon that isn't Kaiko is something I really want to side in. So a card, even if she isn't that good, like a card that I can just search with another card in my deck, makes it so I have like 2 outs to certain problematic situations. Like, think of it in the lens of consistency. It's just a consistent side deck option, which isn't amazing, but like you really have very little reason not to play it.
It puts pressure on board, which is
And
very, very important.
There was a game in the mirror match where I just normal summoned her, and I had bottomless set. So he was like Greffer or something like that. I bottomlessed it. No, sorry, it wasn't Greffer. I think it was Armageddon to get a synchro. I bottomlessed the synchro, and he had, when the game ended, he had 3 traps in hand, and he was like, I had 2. I couldn't set one of them. If I set 2, I play into heavy, or you just pick off one for free, like. And the other one was like, they're both like Merfolk's Deepers and something like that. And he's like, if the game prolongs, you can just pick off 2 for free. Like, he literally just said that this card put in so much work against him in the mirror match specifically. Exactly because he was on a trap heavy build and he couldn't get over her with the monsters he had in hand. He had to set like a Raikou, and since he had no back row, I was just free to make Dark End Dragon, send away the Raikou, and still sit on her. So I really think she's just a good value card to play. 2 Kaiko because I realized I was underprepared for the mirror match and I wanted to prepare for it. Also, he's a solid beater, so you can play him against a lot of different decks, especially when you go for slowing down your own deck, since you want to like side out one Greffer and the Armageddons and stuff. Since Armageddons are tiny, like any beater deck is just going to beat over them. This guy is 18, plus has an additional effect that comes up very often, and locks out banishing.
Very, very strong.
Cyber Dragons for going second. Didn't play any Machinas, but like that's also a reason, I guess.
For sure.
My favorite card in the game, at least in Edison format.
Yeah, this is your special.
Yeah, definitely. There was almost a table flip when this won me top 4 in time. So that was, yeah, interesting, funny, I guess. I really love this card. And it was so funny because we were talking about cards we like before Top Cut, and I was like, Smashing Rod's my favorite because it's such a fair 1-for-1, but it's tempo positive and it's immune to any back row removal. And he was like, well, yeah, I see where you're coming from. And then just having it against that same player in Top Cut was, well, it was bittersweet for him, I guess. It was just sweet for me.
That was kind of nuts.
Yeah. 2 deck Devi, card's ignorant. 2D Prison, again, against decks where I don't want to add my trap count, it's here just to smokescreen out the mirror and the torrential, so they cannot count my power cards, power back row. And against all beatdown decks, I just put them in addition to keeping the other traps. 2 rugs, you know, monarchs.
They exist.
Yeah, and possibly like Machina again, didn't play against them, but like if I did, I do like the card against it. 2 Royal Oppression. You knew it's gonna be here, it had to be here, cards just nuts. And when you slow down your own deck, games 2 and 3, if you go that route again, you take out your Gores, you take out the Malis, you take out the Armas, maybe one Grapher, you know, and you put this in, and you suddenly have a win condition that you don't even have to try hard to accomplish. You have an instant win button, in addition to have higher value cards than your opponent does, since you're making 2300 beaters like off of your, in addition to a normal summon, you're getting Raikos, you're getting so much stuff, you're getting traps, you're getting so much removal and tempo and pressure, and your opponent just cannot answer it, because you just sit on Royal Oppression, and you ask them, do you have an out? And they're like, I'm gonna draw it, and they don't draw it, and you win. Or if they do draw it, they're still spending at least 1 card to remove this, usually after it has already removed something. Like, I'm explaining why it's so good, because I believe that in the last profile I was explaining why it's so bad and why I hate it in the main deck. I just want to give counterpoints to myself to tell you, like, the card's amazing. Like, I'm aware it's amazing. I had like people ask me like, are you dense? Do you not understand it's good? I understand it's good. I just don't want to main deck it, especially in a climate full of Blackwings and like semi-stun decks which can just play through it.
Yeah, it's that one awkward card that it's. There are times that it can just be stuck on the field and your opponent will look at it and can do nothing about it. And the other times you'll have it and it will just be one dead card in your hand or on the field.
I'd actually compare it to the Sirocco, except like the third Sirocco in this deck particularly. Except third Sirocco is, I want to call it like climate positive. Since our local meta has a lot of Blackwings, Sirocco is a card that helps me with that. While Oppression is a card that helps them against me. Like, it's a card that I have game 1 that's probably just a dead card in that specific matchup. So like, of course, there are counterpoints to playing a much slower Vayu Turbo variant if your metagame is all zombies and stuff, and like, but again, I had the idea of just being prepared in the main deck for primarily Blackwings and like Hero Beat, and trying to just outpace all the unfair combo decks game 1, and it worked out wonderfully. I had a few breaks, I had a few like insane draws, I drew Darkroom Dragon a few times, some of the time it didn't even matter, like I OTK'd people at least 2 or 3 times. But one thing I want you to remember, if you're gonna take anything from this deck profile, in the finals, I started out 2 Malicious, I started out Grepher, Armageddon Knight, a bunch of other like Graveland stuff against heroes. And I sided in Royal Oppressions, because I knew he was not on a very stun heavy build. And I was really afraid of Miracle Fusions, and I can somewhat play under Royal Oppression, he cannot get his bombs off under Royal. So I kept it for late game, and when he scooped the game free, he had 2 cards in his hand that were 2 DD Crow. And what I want to say is, yes, this is a game of luck. This is a game of also like technical skill, but mindful deck building. And I'm not just saying like copy what I do. If I can like give you one piece of advice, think about every single card in your 70. Think about every single side card, every single extra deck card, and every single main deck card, and ask yourself, does it have to be there? And if it doesn't, do I want it there? And if you answered yes to every single card in your deck, you will feel that the deck is much, much better performing than a deck you just built overnight. That would be all from me. And I just want to give one shout out to everyone who came. The event was amazing. There were people from Bosnia, Serbia, of course, people from our locals, and just I want to say thank you to everyone, and to people from other Croatian cities for coming. Thank you so much for coming, and I was so glad to play against you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Karlo. I hope we see each other at the next side event or maybe main event tournament. So see you later in another deck profile. Bye.